the second one and the third one. And then within a year, I had many telescopes and many mounts and solar telescopes and hydrogen alphas and this and that. A lot of these that I didn't even know how to use. So I learned very quick how to do it. So in 2015, after collecting a lot of telescopes, I was like, why don't I fund a nonprofit, an astronomy program that does not exist in Kosovo? And I founded this program in 2015 with the hope and the goal to do a lot of outreach events and inspire the younger generation to pursue fields in STEM, especially in astronomy and planetary science, to give the public access to the night sky, to something they had never had the opportunity to experience before. And within a very short time, my team and I, like other students who had the same passion, we met through this program and we grew very large. Like within the first year, it was from just being me to being 300 members in this nonprofit organization. And Kosovo is very small. You can easily compare it with an average city in Kosovo. I'm afraid to say it's the size of the Bay Area, but almost. Um, so within 2 hours, you can go from border to border. So yeah, it's almost like going to Monterey. And for us, it was very convenient because we could go all over the country using our equipment and set them up and go to schools, go to public squares, universities, kindergartens, pretty much just give people access of all ages and get them introduced to astronomy and stargazing and teach them about what's out there in space. So I'm just going to show some of the pictures. This was one of the first events I did after I founded the nonprofit. I was still just by myself, but there was a partial solar eclipse and it went out in the media that I was gonna bring out the telescopes. This was the first time I brought out a hydrogen alpha telescope publicly in Kosovo. And there were over 1,000 people that attended this event. And I remember my parents were trying to like help me out everything because people were so much rushing in the telescopes and it was really scary at that time, but it was really amazing to see how much of an interest people were showing. And more of these events we were doing, you could see like people were pushing each other in the line to get to see in the telescope. That's the excitement that kept me going to do these events. And we've gone everywhere, in all the schools, in all the kindergartens, every city in Kosovo. We even crossed borders into Albania. We've done so many of these outreach events all over the country until one day we lost everything we had. My team, unfortunately, when I moved here in the United States, they were still doing activities. I donated all the equipment I had to the nonprofit, and we had a board. They were running things. It was going very well. They were doing a lot of outreach events. And then one of the days they got into a car crash, and all our equipment, a collection of a period of over 10 years, a collection of like $30,000 or more of equipment was simply crushed. And when they sent me these pictures, first off, I was thankful nobody was injured, but seeing a hydrogen alpha just knocked like that in the middle and then the 8-inch just bended and everything else, it was very heart-wrenching. But at the same time, we still had hopes to do something bigger in the future. So we developed an idea, how about we try to do something where people come to see us instead of us going all the time in schools and universities and other places to set up the equipment, because generally with telescopes, as you all know, they are very sensitive equipment and they get worn out after a period of time, especially after using them too much. We overuse our equipment, like we would do 3 events a week. They started to get rusty and all of that. So, but again, this was a major setback. So my team and I started to think about what else we can do, that we could possibly have an office or something for our team, because we were keeping the telescopes at home. One of us, like, we never really had an office, a facility for our nonprofit. We were kind of like nomads, just moving from place to place. So the idea to have the first observatory, it crossed my mind back in 2015 when I started the astronomy group. I was traveling a lot at that time. I went to Australia and met with so many amateur astronomers. I was giving talks. I came here to the United States and I saw a lot of people had observatories in their backyard. They had built an observatory, put a beautiful telescope, and they were doing actual science. They were doing asteroid occultations. They were looking for variable stars. They were doing stuff from their own living room, and it was easy. So I thought, why can't we build something like this? So my team and I started discussing an idea of how we would like to build it. Initially, we thought we could just have a small dome, a small room, and that's it, with a telescope. But then we started dreaming bigger. We said, how about we try to build an observatory? Maybe add a planetarium, maybe add a control room, and maybe an area where we could be used for exhibitions and other stuff, like some extra space. So it's not just an observatory, but it's more like a science center. And of course, building something like this requires funds. But anyway, this was the idea that we came up with. This is just a drawing of what we had in our mind, like an observatory, a planetarium dome, and then other spaces for other things. And this was the observatory floor plan, how it would look like. And then this is from the side. So you can see the observatory would go in the upper second floor because we wanted to make sure if we put a telescope, the dome of the planetarium, it's not going to be on the way. So this was all the stuff we just put it together, and we are no experts. So we came up with approximately what we needed. And of course, we had a lot of help internationally. A lot of astronomers helped us put this together as well. We approached a team of architects and we told them, look, we want to build something like this. And we need your help to put this project in a piece of paper, do all the calculations and make sure that if this can be built in Kosovo. And of course, for the team of architects and the engineers involved in putting this together, was very difficult and challenging as well because these folks have never been in an observatory before. They have never seen one in real life. Now, how do you design something that you've never actually seen it's not like designing a house or an apartment. It's something very complex, especially when it came to the observatory dome, because the observatory dome, buying it from elsewhere, which would be from the United States or from Germany, that means that just the cost of the dome, let alone the shipping and insurance and all of that involved, could be very expensive and something that we simply could not imagine we can have at that time. So after putting all of this together, the architects and engineers estimated the total cost of this building would be in the order of 300,000 euros. And this amount of money for Kosovo, it's a lot of money, especially for a country that was completely destroyed from the war. It's a poor country. People are still having issues raising a family and economically making a living. And then having this amount of money to invest in an observatory, it was difficult coming up with this. So the main question was, where do we get the funds? So we started a GoFundMe back in 2018, I believe, and we were unable to even raise $10,000 from like private donors. And we figured out this was not the best idea because, I mean, people will give, but we couldn't collect enough to build something like this. It was a huge amount of money. So the only option we had left, it was the government of Kosovo. So in 2019, my team and I, we approached the Parliament of Kosovo with an amendment presenting them this project. And we met with a lot of politicians during that year, explaining it to them how important it was for Kosovo to have an observatory, to have a science center. And it took a lot of efforts to convince politicians to vote for this project because they all had to vote in order to have the budget approved for this project. And luckily, we had the project approved and we were over the moon excited because finally we knew we had the funds. However, In Kosovo, so here in the United States, government works a little bit differently, but approaching the parliament here, it's almost like approaching the Congress here in the United States. And then Congress splitting those funds to maybe counties or ministries. I don't know what's the equivalent of a ministry here, but it's the Ministry of Education. So the funds had to go from the Parliament to the Ministry of Education and then to us. So when the funds went to the Ministry of Education, due to bureaucratic reasons and the politicians that were running the Ministry of Education at that time, things got stagnant. And for a very long time, it took 4 years for those funds to be released for reasons that I still don't know today. I even protested in front of the government with my team, with my nonprofit, to act, to have some pressure against the government because this was the only power we had against the government. So we had the funds approved, but for some reason, the funds were not being released or allocated towards this project. And nobody could explain to us, why is this? Why is this happening? So we were very concerned. I was so disappointed to the point where I thought that this project is never going to happen because I was very disappointed. I moved here to the United States for school. I was no longer back in my country, making a lot of pressure constantly to the government. It was my team trying and me trying from the distance, trying to have international community, Celestron, everybody pressure the government because even Celestron was behind this. Celestron, the entire team was like, if you build an observatory, we will donate a C-14 telescope. And we told the government, if you build the building, we're going to bring everything else here. We're not asking for anything else. So fast forward in 2022, at the very end of 2022, we finally had a new Minister of Education, the lady in white. And she was actually a deputy at the time when we presented the amendment to the parliament. So she became a Minister of Education and she knew about this project. She was very well aware and she made sure that the funds got released. And there was the first stepping stone, of the foundation of the observatory. And we were very, very excited. I was not there for this moment. I was here in school. I couldn't travel to Kosovo, but just seeing these pictures and seeing my team and how excited, because we were so hopeless for so long, and it was a very exciting moment. And right after this, the construction of the project actually moved very quick. So this is just some pictures from February of last year. You can see the foundation was almost completed, the shapes of the domes, you could see the circles, you could tell where the rooms are gonna be. And then my first visit to the construction site was in March of 2023, and I was so excited. I went to Kosovo only for 3 days to watch what's going on, and I was just extremely excited to see the circles and the pier where the telescope was gonna be. All of that, I don't know, it's just something you have thought for so long, and then finally it's happening. It's like I can't even describe that feeling. And then this was in April of last year, so they were building the walls of both planetarium and the observatory. These are the stairs to go up to the observatory, and then the dome of the planetarium. Also for the dome of planetarium, we were debating a lot whether we need to have a special type of material to build it with, but we just decided to do cement, concrete, just simple as that, and then smooth it from inside and then project in it. And of course, we had a lot of astronomers who warned us about, making sure it's a perfect circle and this and that, and same with the pier of the observatory, so it doesn't touch the base floor or the upper floor. Like a lot of details that my team and I just didn't have the expertise, but we were very lucky to have so many astronomers internationally advising us, and then we would pass that information to the architects and the construction workers, and we would monitor everything every day. And then this is when they were pouring the concrete on top of the planetarium dome. This was when they brought the dome skeleton. So as I said, we couldn't afford to buy a dome, so we decided to build our own dome, the first dome ever in Kosovo. And this is just crazy to think about it. And I think this is an animation, yeah. So I was here in the States when my team sent me this picture, and I was so excited to see this animation. And also, just by looking at the people and comparing it with the people, the size of the people, I could tell the opening of the dome was just wide enough because I was worried if it's gonna be too small and then the telescope is gonna be kind of trouble to see through it or something like that. I mean, we had to be careful and watch every single thing because again, I wouldn't blame if they made a mistake because they never saw an observatory. They designed this whole dome just based on pictures they saw from Ash Dome and Sirius and all these other manufacturers. And then this is also, I believe, a video, just one of the construction workers just pushing the dome by hands in the reels. The dome was not motorized yet at that time, so the motors were brought a lot later after it was covered and everything. And just one more picture. And then this is like a close-up look, so how they put everything together. And then this was my second visit in August of last year. This was after the building was already put together. A lot of things were finished. And I was very excited to go in there and actually walk in the building, go upstairs, go in the terrace and see the dome and see it like being rotated. And it was very, very exciting. And then me just here doing like a peer review. And you can see the pier, it's not attached to the floors. It's like all the way straight in the ground. And so it's not gonna be vibrating, from anything around. And again, I was just super excited to see this project come to life after working towards it for like almost a decade at this point. And these are just some more pictures showing the construction workers. There was still a lot of construction going. They were doing the walls, they were painting the interior of the planetarium dome, they were smoothing it. A lot of things were still unfinished. And then by October of last year, we got things pretty much complete. It was a lot of work, especially the outside, the backyard, the front yard, and then the furniture. Some of the furniture was brought in, but yet the building had no equipment, nothing installed yet. So I mentioned earlier that Celestron was behind this project since the very beginning. When I first presented just as an idea at NEAF in New York, the Northeast Astronomy Forum, I gave us a talk there in 2018. And right after that, the CEO of Celestron, Corey Lee, came by and said, like, if you guys are gonna build this, we are going to donate a C-14. And we will send a team of experts all the way to Kosovo to install it for you, to make sure it's working flawlessly, and we will train your staff how to use it. I mean, can you imagine that? And this was at NEAF, and I'm just really happy that Celestron was always behind this because it helped us convince the government, because the government, once they knew that we have the equipment, all we need is the building, then the project somehow got to work again, and it happened. So I'm very, very thankful to Corey and Team Celestron for always being super supportive. And then Stephen Ranston, another colleague of mine who has supported our organization since the very beginning. Stephen has sent us all the solar telescopes, even the ones that you saw all crashed in the car crash. It was from this gentleman who runs the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, a nonprofit based in Atlanta, and has chapters all over the world. So Stephen has sent more equipment to organizations and people around the world than anybody I know. Like Stephen has donated so many, and his nonprofit is still runs, and it's, the goal is to inspire, the young generation and the public, to teach them about the sun, about science, about spectroscopy, about light, how everything is connected. It's a very, very inspiring program. So Stephen and I have been working together for a long time. And when we're building the observatory, Stephen was like, I've given you guys a lot of solar telescopes, but I want to make sure that for the observatory, I'm going to give you the largest solar telescope in Eastern Europe. And this was the telescope that he donated to us, an LS-152. Stephen also donated a $1,000 donation for the grand opening to cover a lot of things. And then because the telescope was so big, initially I thought, oh, okay, we're gonna have a solar telescope. We will just put that on top of the C14 and the CGLX mount and, have it in the observatory. No, 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 no. This was so big. It needed its own mount, which we didn't have. So Skywatcher USA, Jeff Simon and Kevin Legore came through and they donated an EQR8 and an EQR 6 for like other solar telescopes, and it just all of a sudden we had all this equipment coming in. And then for the planetarium was challenging because everywhere I've gone all over the world, I've seen these fancy projectors in the middle of the room, the Z's projectors projecting everywhere in the ceiling. But for our planetarium, Jack Dunn, who was also a huge support and has helped us with how to, with every detail in the planetarium, how we should have it, including the painting, the lighting, the height of the walls, everything pretty much. He has suggested us. Jack has done a lot of work with the International Planetarium Society. So Jack had donated the projector and the hemispherical mirror. I had never heard of the system before, but it actually works really well. And then Hap Griffin, a very good colleague of mine from South Carolina, who also has his own observatory in his place somewhere. And we also share a discovery together of an asteroid in 2020. So he donated the sound system, which also adds a lot of that thrill when you play anything in the planetarium with the music and the bass and everything. So I brought this back to Kosovo and we installed all of this back in March of this year, and everything seemed to work properly. The projection was really good. Everybody was very, very surprised how the planetarium came together because I was not believing that this system would look that great in our dome, but it does, and it's fascinating. And then it was time to go to Kosovo this year. So after the building had been completed, we decided to do the grand opening on June 20th of this year, which is the day of the solstice. And we had about 6 months to prepare for the grand opening. But I wasn't in Kosovo. I was here in the United States and I could not leave school here. So I had to be there only 10 days prior to the grand opening. But before that, there were a lot of people, a lot of astronomers and supporters who donated so many items to our science center, which, rockets and planetary models and, red lights and a lot of things, meteorites to display in our exhibition so that, we didn't want to just have one telescope and a planetarium. We wanted to make sure that when people walk through that door, they will be able to learn about the fundamentals of science. They will be able to understand, the stars, the origin of the universe, the solar system, read about meteorites, read about that, read about this. Like generally when you walk here in a museum or science center and you see all these things, and kids love that. And it took a long time to come up with the ideas, how do we want to do this? Because we didn't have a very large facility to begin with, but also I never understood how much effort it goes into designing and planning all of that. I had to do a lot of trips here in the States to visit so many museums and science centers and get ideas. How would I build this exhibition in our observatory? And also make sure, because I was doing it in two languages. And when you translate, sometimes there are words in my language that don't exist. And, it was tough to bring it and also to condense science to a level where a general average person would walk through those doors, would read about electromagnetic spectrum, and would be able to understand. So that was my primary goal. And I spent months and months designing posters and photographs and all of that so that when I went to Kosovo on June 9th, we printed everything. So we had 9 days, a building that was completely white walls, to turn it into a science center, install everything, and then have the grand opening, because I had a limited time of being there and I wanted to be there for this. Oh, somebody microphone.
Back up there now. Oh, please let me say it again. Please. I promise again. I promise I won't.
Okay, sorry, let me.
No problem.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so, and a lot of people sent so much stuff to my address here in San Jose. I had my entire living room full of Amazon boxes of people donating anything they could think of that could be useful for our observatory. And I was very, very, very excited to see how the community internationally came together and during a period of 2 weeks sent everything to us, including inflatable planets and pretty much anything. And the main idea was, how am I going to get it back to Kosovo? Shipping it, it's expensive, but also it would never make it in time. So the only option was like, I pack it as well as I can and I carry it back with me in suitcases. So these were all my luggages, plus some are not here because somebody else was carrying a few more for me. And we invited a lot of astronomers and scientists and professors to come to Kosovo to celebrate with us in the grand opening. And I was very excited because in my own country, we were going to have all these people joining us from all over the world. And I was very excited. So we were working very, very hard to make sure that our science center is set all properly for the day of the opening. So this was us, me and my team, my board, who I have worked with for the last 10 years. And we were installing everything. We were working, we were designing, we were cutting stuff, making sure, planning, deciding where we're going to put the exhibitions, the tables, the walls, the posters, everything, because you can't just put anything. Like, you have to make sure you start with the galaxies or the formation of the universe, and then galaxies, and then stars, and then planets. You cannot just put meteorites and black holes next to each other. Like, there is some kind of strategy when you do all this. So we had to come up with all these ideas, and we were burnt out. So I went to Kosovo. I spent the first evening with my family, and then they didn't see me for the next 10 days. I didn't go home. None of my board members went home. They have kids, they have families. We didn't see, our families. We were working there all day and all night. We were not even sleeping. We were like snoozing wherever we could, eating whatever we could just to get through this time. And we were putting into so much effort. Here are the guys installing the USB cable that goes from the observatory pier to the control room downstairs, so that when the C-14 arrives, we wanted to make sure that we can control it from downstairs if we needed to. So, and this was something that the construction workers were not notified in time. So we had to do it ourselves, and we had to like break the tiles again and redo everything all over again. So this is the cost, what it would mean if they got something wrong and go and change it later. Like, it was a lot of work. And then this is just me and my team. I believe the photo on the upper right was taken right after midnight. We were just so much starving. We just went to take pizza or something. And then some of my team members inflating the inflatable planets that were donated to us. Each planet is 1 meter size, and they're very, very beautiful. And then on the right bottom corner, it's my sisters who were ironing the flag, making it ready for the grand opening day. And then this was us still working during those 9 days that we had. We printed everything. We also printed the name of the observatory, the logos. Some of the team members were installing like the toilet paper holders and like everything. Like, you want to make sure when you go open to public, you have to have everything. And like, I didn't realize how much effort it was taking to do all this. We were just simply burnt out. And then a lot of those donations that were sent to me here in California included lights and solar lights and bulbs, things that you don't generally find easy in Kosovo. So these red lights, I really like these. somebody, I know there were 2 donors who donated 24 pieces of these lights, and we put them all over the corner in the building so that illuminates red, and so you can see all around. It's beautiful, and it won't harm your eyes from, to lose your night vision. And then this was us after 9 days of working. These are my friends. We were exhausted. We were tired. We were sleeping in the observatory, in the sofa, eating whatever. It was just really tiring. And then 2 days prior to the grand opening, the huge shipment from Celestron and Skywatcher USA arrived to our facility. And this is our board with Celestron Vice President Ben Hawk, who also came to Kosovo with a delegation. And it was time to open all these boxes. And like, can you imagine the excitement? Like, you open a box and, Celestron and Skywatcher USA sent so much things, more things that they told us about. So every time I'd open a box and see something new that I didn't know about, like an extra mount or an extra this or all the eyepieces, and I was really, really happy. And also during that time, I believe it was the same day Celestron delegation arrived in Kosovo. Robert Reeves, Kevin Kawai, they arrived later on. And so we went the next day all together working on installing the telescope. So this is Robert Reeves, who has done an amazing job with, Team Celestron and my board members all working together to drill the holes in the mount and like making sure it's polar aligned. And it was just so hectic because we had 2 days, and if anything went wrong, like we wanted to make sure that everything is working properly. And then this is the final product. Like we built this and we put it together, and it was very, very emotional because finally after 10 years of like trying to fight so hard for this project and dreaming towards it and having all these visions in your head, finally it happened, and it was right there. And I had my first light. I remember Robert Reeves, I was downstairs doing something and they called me up quick upstairs and they said, Fran has to have the first light. And they pointed at the moon and I got to look through the telescope, and I'll never forget that moment. It was very, very, very exciting. I was very proud. And then this is just a short animation to show you how the observatory looks from inside. So this is our dome. It's now covered. It's motorized. It rotates. It opens the slit, and it's not automated with a telescope. This animation is just my friends moving the telescope, chasing the dome, but the dome does not go wherever the telescope is pointing. It's still manually, but trust me, we're not complaining about that at all. And then this is just a picture from the inside of planetarium. I really, really like the planetarium and how it turned out. It's just that when you close the doors and turn off the lights and you sit behind this desk where you control everything, and then there is a classroom of children sitting there and you play a show for the first time and the lights turn, the reflection in the dome, it really feels like you are in a spaceship cruising towards the space. And the impressions of all the kids and people who watch a show for the first time in a planetarium, something that had never existed in Kosovo and they had never experienced in their life. It is really, really incredible feeling to experience that. And it's every time you sit behind the desk that you have new people come in to see a show every time. And then it was time for the grand opening day. It was a 40 degrees Celsius hot in Kosovo, very hot. We had the grand opening ceremony outside in the front yard, and we had a lot of speeches from the government officials, from Celestron officials, from Stephen Ramsden, from our team and our board. And it was very exciting to share that moment. We had standing ovations and all of that. And then it was time to cut the ribbon. And it was the 6 of us, and I had the honor of like cutting the ribbon for this project with everybody there included in the picture. And we gave the first walk tour to the government of Kosovo officials. the Minister of Education, you remember her, and the guy in the blue shirt, he's the mayor of the county, the town where the observatory is built. So the observatory, it's not built in the city, it's in the suburbs of the city. So there is not a lot of light pollution where the observatory is. And it was amazing to walk them through the building and show them what we had put together during 10 days, all the work, all the exhibitions, all the planets, all the everything that was donated to us, and the meteorites. And I was explaining to them everything about science and the meteorites and this and that. And I'm sure they had no clue what I was talking about because they're politicians and they just don't know any of that. But I wanted to prove them a point that we made this happen together and it was worth it. It was a worth project because seeing everybody come there and just being in awe of things, how everything turned out, and seeing things they had never seen ever in their life before, it's life changing, especially for kids. And I was very, very excited to share that. And we have a beautiful terrace that you can walk through from the observatory outside. And that's the main place where we place other telescopes to observe during the night or mostly during the day, our solar telescopes. This is how everything looked like, and everybody got to get a glimpse of the sun, although it was boiling hot that day. And then in the second day, we had a series of talks because there were so many astronomers and scientists that came to celebrate with us for the grand opening. So since we had everybody there, we figured everybody could give a 10-15 minute talk on a certain topic. This is my PhD advisor, Dr. Miriam Tellis, who traveled from University of California all the way to Kosovo just to be there for this day. And then other professors from the astronomy department came over, and I lost number of like how many countries of the world we had people who traveled there for this event. And it was very amazing to have young students, high school students, be there and listen to these talks. We were providing something to our population, to our people, to our citizens, something that they never had before. And we were very, very happy. We also got the Presidential Award from the Astronomical League. We were very happy in honor of the grand opening of the observatory. And then this was the first school that came over after we went public. And I was in Kosovo for another week or so after the grand opening before I came back to the States. And oh my God, this was my favorite because to me, I didn't care about politicians being there. I wanted to see how the kids are going to react to everything. And we have this beautiful classroom where we bring in the class and we explain it to them what they're gonna experience, what they're gonna see in the planetarium, what they're gonna see in the observatory, this and that. Just give them like an introduction or like a short lecture of some type. And then if anybody has questions, and then we move them in the planetarium where they get to see a show. And it's very, very exciting to like hear their, how they react to that. And we have very, very beautiful planetarium shows that have been donated by Jack Dunn that I mentioned. Jack also donated a computer with all the shows and sent it to us so that we used that entire system in the planetarium. And then we let them spend a lot of time in the lobby where you can see the photo in the bottom left. And we have a series of displays of a lot of things, including, information and like from all the fields, including geology and mineralogy. They can touch certain minerals and see different models of rockets. And we have like picture signs from astronauts or like lunar meteorites or this or that. It's very exciting for kids, especially to see these things and touch these things and learn about how the solar system works, how the Earth rotates around how the moon rotates around the Earth and then all together around the sun. We have very beautiful planetary models that were donated specifically for this reason, and they always enjoy it. And then the photo where the kids are looking through the solar telescope just gives you an idea how incredibly significant that telescope is. It's incredibly large. And that's the mount that Skywatcher USA donated to have it mounted into. And then these are just some more pictures of like more kids coming through, and it's always really exciting to see their reaction, to interact with them, to have them ask questions. And it's a really beautiful feeling having, knowing that we did something to change their lives, because you never know that maybe one of them will get inspired and will decide to become an astronomer in the future and do amazing things in their lives. And it got inspired because they had a visit here, or you never know how you can impact other people's lives. And these are, I believe, yeah, I guess they have sound. These are just videos, which I will try to probably include them. And you can see this is just at the planetarium on the way to the right, how the planetarium looks like. And the video doesn't really do justice because it looks really, really nice when you're under the dome and everything is being projected. And the middle one is just a video of the C14 telescope. And by the way, I forgot to mention that Celestron, while they were there, they donated a second C14 telescope with a CGLX mount. So we have the same setup in the pier, and we have another one that we use outside in the terrace if we want to move it around. So that was a surprise. So we were not expecting that. And then just to end up my talk, because I've been talking for too long, maybe I'm over time, sorry about that. But I just wanted to give a very special thank you to the government of Kosovo for coming through and funding this project, for building the building, because that was the most important. And of course, a huge, huge thanks to Corey Lee and Team Celestron, who have been with us for a very long time. And even before the observatory, Celestron always sent so many telescopes and donations to our group so that we use their telescopes across Kosovo to do outreach. And Skywatcher USA as well, who really have come forward and just donated everything they could to help us set up the Science Center. And of course, Stephen Ramsden and the Charlie Bates Solar Astronomy Project, and a list of people that have donated not just financially, but also items that help us a lot in the observatory to, you know, help us to educate the younger generation, whether it is models or anything that they could possibly. And there is a huge list of people that we don't have them listed, but this project is a collaboration of a large number of people that came together and did their best effort to put together this project. And it changed the course of an entire nation of Kosovo. This is the first national observatory and planetarium in our country, and I am more than happy about this. And in honor of Celestron and their huge support for everything they have done for us, we named the observatory after Celestron because we would never be able to do anything like in return to pay them back somehow, but we figured this would be a great way to honor them. And of course, the planetarium, Jack Dunn deserves the best because he really has put so much effort in supporting us with this project since a very long time. And the solar terrace that we named it after Stephen Ramsden, who also has been helping us for a very, very long time. He's our hero. So in the end, I just wanted to say that the entire story, it's just that I had a dream and it happened, and I never gave up. And I had a beautiful team, a group of smart people who we really were dedicated to making this project happen. And if you aim to do something in life and you feel like you're not getting there, or you feel like something is stopping you, or you don't have the funds, or you don't have the support, or you don't have the right people in your team, don't let that stop you. Because we, a country that just had the war 25 years ago, which is just like looking yesterday, and we have family members that were shot and killed, and the terror that we went through, and yet again, we were strong enough to dream about something like this, about looking up at the stars and coming together as not just a nation, but internationally joining and becoming like a global village and exploring the universe and finding what's out there. And like we had this huge dream and we made it happen regardless of what was surrounding us, then what will stop you? So the moral of the story, like never give up on your dreams. Chase your dreams because you never know, if it's gonna come true. So thank you so much for your attention. I'm sorry I went a little bit too long, but it was a huge pleasure. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to address them. And I forgot to mention that picture in the right, that drawing. I drew that in 2016. I had this vision in my head how the observatory was gonna look like, and I thought I was gonna use my 8-inch Newtonian that was wrecked in the car crash. And a tiny pier and the things I had seen when I was visiting in Australia, all my friends had this. But we did it, and we did it better with a C14 and much bigger. So I'm very happy.
What an incredible journey. What an incredible journey. Thank you very much for sharing this with us. Everybody's so excited to hear that. And now, of course, yeah, so the floor is open for everybody to ask questions. Let me start by asking, what's the current situation? Do you have like staff there? What are the operating hours? If we want to come to visit, where should we go?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so the observatory, so again, the government built it. Now they don't really care to fund it any further. So we had to come up with ideas about how to maintain the facility. So we have, of course, my board who remains in Kosovo. They're working and working there, and the only source of income currently is from the visitors. So we have, the adults who pay a fee to come in and, spend all day, all as much as they want. And it's open pretty much every day, except I think Mondays. We are 3 times a week open until midnight or so, so that we observe during the nights. And then during the day, we're open, I believe, all day of the week, except for like Mondays, and also, of course, the weekend. And yeah, so that's the only source of income is from the visitors, and the kids don't pay, it's free entry, and that's how the staff get, paid and they can run the facility. But we're always open to donations because it's always difficult to run such a facility with funds when you're only based in an income or revenue from visitors, because during the winter it's very harsh in Kosovo, so that means that probably we're not going to get so many people to come through, and also the weather doesn't cooperate either, so it's very fluctuation when it comes to the fund. So we're always like looking for donations, and we're very appreciative if anybody wants to support, because we still need support and it's going to be an ongoing project. But yeah, so that's what we do, and hopefully we will be able to convince the government once again to like maybe set up a contract of some sort so that they can fund the facility on a yearly basis or something like that. But we still have not come to that point, to an agreement like that.
And can you tell us about the location? So was the land donated by the government? How did you choose where to build it?
Yeah, so for the land, I guess I missed that point. Thank you for asking. So the property where we built it was actually donated by the current CEO of AOK. So he's a professor of astronomy in a high school. We've been working together for like 10 years. We've all the events that you saw, like he's been part of that. And so when we were thinking about building this, we had to think about the property, of course, and like the best place, like if it's high altitude or like away from the light pollution. But again, in Kosovo, things don't really work quite as good as here in the United States, where you'll build Lick Observatory and they will build you a road all the way up there. It's like, I was thinking if we build it at top of the mountain, nobody's gonna bring the infrastructure, because you have to think about electricity, about the road, about the water, about a lot of things that go with that. And that would be a lot more effort and trouble to have this approved. So the property was donated by this professor, and it was in a outside of the city. Also, it was in an area where it's easy access to all of the infrastructure, but also easy access from the public, because during winters it can snow very much in Kosovo. And if we were up in a mountain, that means that we would probably have no visitors at all during winter months, because you cannot drive with a bus up there if you don't have the open road and all that. But the location where we are now, it's asphalted all the way to the building, and it is easy access, and buses come through because we get schools every day, like large buses with schools kids, and it worked out really well. So I'm glad that we decided to build it here, and we're very thankful to the professor Milan Roshiti who donated the property. So it's part of the organization now that we have. It's not a lot of property, but enough to just have this building. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Now let's turn to the in-person audience. Are there any questions?
Oh, yeah. I see some hands.
Okay, let's see.
Can I hear them? Or
Yeah, Doug, I guess, would be.
there's a chat. I missed the chat.
We have the microphone moving. Okay.
How do we make donations? I saw a PayPal sign up there, but it didn't say anything about how to donate.
It's how do I describe it? It's a PayPal username. It's at AOK so Astronomia Preach of Kosovo patch, because that was when we were giving out patches for donations, but we no longer have patches, but this was stuck like that. So
So I can just make a donation to that.
Yeah, so if you have a PayPal account, you just type in that username and you should be able to make the donation. But I will let Reza probably share that, because yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. So
Thank you so much. Your story is really inspiring.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So you basically go to your PayPal account and click on send money, and then put that username AOKPATCH, right? And then you choose the amount that you want to donate, and they'll receive it. Any other in-person questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, so we have some questions online. And that is, well, the questioner has congratulated you in everything and making the observatory possible. Now, they are asking, do you have a series of observation in mind that your location will make possible? So it's the only one in the general area, if we understand correctly. Maybe any plans of cooperation with others nations, and what is possible to observe there, which is not possible other places?
Yeah, of course. Like whatever you can observe from the States, you can basically observe from Kosovo. We are in the same latitude as New York City, so you can see a lot of northern sky. However, after the grand opening, we were very surprised with the amount of support we had from the neighboring country, from Slovenia, Bulgaria, Macedonia, Bosnia and Herzegovina. A lot of these places, they were very amazed with Kosovo, because a lot of these places have been a country for over 100 years, but then Kosovo has only been a country for 14 years, and we built an observatory, a science center, and these countries still don't have something like that. So they were sending emails with questions. How did you build it? How, can you share any insight about this project? And I very much appreciated that, because that meant us collaborating with each other, our astronomy groups. So also for the observations, we have still not started. As of now, we're just doing public outreach mostly. But my goal is, when I return to Kosovo next summer, because I can't go there until next summer, unfortunately, but I want to get a team of students started into looking for, asteroid occultation, or maybe even getting an observatory code for the Minor Planet Center, so that we can do reports of like asteroid detections and do variable stars with the AAVSO, all these programs that you can have, all the citizen science programs that you can have students involved and do actual science. So I really am excited about these, and hopefully we will be able to apply some of these because we have a very nice telescope. So why the heck not?
Great. Another questioner wants to know if you have any plans to add imaging equipment to your setup.
Yeah, for the imaging, we don't really have anything. So I mean, we have eyepieces for visual, but we don't really have any imaging equipment, and we also don't have computers for the control room. So we have a beautiful control room, just like this office, but it's empty with no computers because we didn't have the funds to buy computers. So we just operate the telescope by the controller upstairs. And we were hoping at least during the winter months, we don't have to go upstairs. We can just control everything from the control room and install the cameras and just have everything done remotely. But I don't know if that can be accomplished anytime soon, especially within the first year because of funding opportunities and, But yeah, we would love to have some astrophotography going on and some CCDs and all that. But yeah, we don't have that yet.
Okay, great. And last one is not a question, but a comment. Keith Hammonds mentions that he was with you there.
Cheers.
And yeah, he says what a great lady you are, and also how proud your family were of your achievements. So that's great. Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you, Keith. Yeah, Keith was one of the attendees that flew all the way from Texas to be with us in the grand opening. So thank you for being here, Keith.
Okay, great. And somebody also suggests that you might be able to contact Software Bisq, which makes astronomy control software for some donation of the control software, BISQUE.
Okay.
And
is this for like astrophotography to control the telescope or for automating the dome with the telescope?
well, they do have a software that does all that for imaging and controlling the telescope. And okay, let's go in person. Do we have any further questions? Doug, any questions from the in-person audience? Oh, you're mute.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Doug, let me try. You need to, Doug, you need to unmute. Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that was really an exciting talk and very invigorating to hear about the program in Kosovo. You're just really made everybody very excited. And speaking of excited, our winner has a little teeny tiny telescope that she looks through at home, and just won a 5-inch telescope. And so the guys are getting her set up, and we're going to put it in their car, and she'll be at ANZA next week, or next star party. She's very excited.
Yeah, that's really
And I told her
cool.
there's a women's group wanted to go to Borrego Springs. I said, yeah, a lot of women get together. We observe. They all observe together. I just stand back and, I don't know, do something else.
It's really nice. Like
the women do different. Pranvera, the women in the club do astronomy different than the guys do. And as soon as I get very close, it changes. So I learned a long time to back off and just let women do. It's different. So it's okay.
I had a lot of fun with outreach.
Take your
for all
telescope
week
away.
when the comet was visible.
Okay, I got to take care of the winner.
Yeah.
We'll be back on in a minute.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Yeah. Sorry, Pranvera, you were saying about the comments that you had from the comet?
No, I was just responding to the gentleman because when the comet was visible, I took my telescope out in San Jose here every evening, and I had like hundreds of people every evening. So it was very exciting to do that here in the States, which is always fun. And I believe somebody had a question about what city is spelled. So
Yes, how we can get there.
the observatory is in the city of Stime, and The airport, the only airport and the nearest, by the way, in Kosovo is Pristina International Airport, and it's about a 20-minute drive to the observatory because Kosovo is very small. Keep that in mind. So yeah, if you ever want to visit the observatory, you can stay in Pristina, and then with a taxi or a rental car, you can get to the observatory in 20 minutes.
Great. And sorry if I missed it, but is there a website for the observatory that has the information? And
There's no website, but we post a lot on Facebook under Astronomy Outreach of Kosovo, who currently operates the observatory. So you can visit our page on Facebook and you will see a lot of more pictures of kids enjoying the telescopes and the observatory. So that's where you can find us and learn more about our group. And if anybody has any questions like in the future or anything, or if I missed anything, feel free to contact me over email. My email is usually public on Google or UC Santa Cruz website, and just shoot me a question.
okay, great. Thank you very much. And there's also, since it was mentioned, in women's astronomy group or observing group, I was Dog. Do you have more information? Somebody's inquiring about that.
They left.
I guess everybody left to handle the telescope and the raffle.
Sorry, Reza. Yeah,
yes,
we're on the telescope packed up, and her dad showed up, and they're going to put it up in the. Two guys disappeared with it down the hall. I found out they're going to the elevator to go upstairs to go out to the car. So it's getting all packed up, and it'll be used next week. We're going to have a story in the Serious Astronomer about it, and some pictures.
Okay, so is that something that people can attend, the Women's Observing Night, if I caught that correctly?
At nightfall, we usually get a bunch of people together, and at OVRO, we get people together. All the girls get together.
Okay. Okay, great. So let me thank Pran again for such a wonderful talk, and everybody else for attending and staying with us. I wish everybody great times ahead. For more information about Pran's work and also our future events, you can go to our website at ocastronomers.org. And with that, I wish everybody great night ahead, and bye-bye.
Thank you, Reza, and thank you everybody for your attention and for listening.
All righty, we'll see you. Thanks a lot. Great program and great What's Up. And Sam says goodbye to everybody for us. Hey, there's Charlie. Okay, this is